The ship Endeavor drifted silently through the deep black of space. Stars glimmered like tiny fires outside the windows, and the crew sat in quiet anticipation. Captain Elias stood near the command seat, his hands behind his back. He had led many missions beyond the known sectors of human space. But this one felt different. The scanners had detected a planet that should not exist. It was hidden behind a veil of strange radiation, almost invisible to their instruments until they drew close. Its surface was covered in forests of crystal-like structures that reflected sunlight in rainbow patterns. The crew had never seen anything like it. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara, studying her screen, "the readings are strange. No signs of cities or industry, but I'm picking up energy signatures under the surface. It's like something is still alive down there." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Alive, or waiting," he said quietly. He looked around at his people, 12 explorers, all chosen for their skill and calm under pressure. They were not soldiers, but every one of them carried courage in their hearts. "Prepare landing teams," Elias ordered. The descent was smooth. Their shuttle cut through the thin clouds and touched down on a flat, glassy plain, surrounded by tall, crystal trees. The air shimmered faintly, as if light itself was bending in unusual ways. The crew stepped out in suits, though the air was breathable. Boots crunched softly against the strange ground, and echoes lingered longer than they should, though sound itself didn't want to leave. "Stay close," Elias reminded. His voice was calm, but his eyes moved sharply, scanning every angle. The first discovery came quickly. Not far from the landing site, half buried under vines of silver growth, stood structures. Towers broken and fallen, arches cracked with time, and walls covered with strange markings. They were ruins ancient, silent, and vast. "But there was something more, Captain," Mara whispered, brushing dust from a wall. "These carvings? They almost look like letters. Not ours, but close." Elias stepped forward. His hand touched the stone, and for a moment he thought he felt warmth. Lines ran across the wall in repeating patterned symbols that seemed halfway. Between alien language and something that stirred memory, the crew spread out, examining statues, broken pillars, and collapsed halls. Each discovery brought more questions. Some walls showed tall, thin figures clearly alien, but standing beside them were shapes that looked disturbingly human. "Is this possible?" muttered Dr. Rayhan, their historian. "Humans. In alien records, this far away from Earth?" No one answered. They pushed deeper into the ruins, drawn forward by curiosity and a sense of something waiting. The air grew heavier as the sun dipped low, filling the ruins with long shadows, and then they saw her at the center of a wide plaza. Standing near a broken fountain was a figure. She was tall and slender, her skin faintly glowing in pale blue light. Her hair shimmered as though made from silver threads. Her eyes held a depth that made every crew member freeze in place. She was not machine, not illusion. She was alive. The alien woman turned slowly, her gaze falling on Elias. She studied him with such intensity, he felt his breath catch in his chest. The crew raised scanners, some reaching for their sidearms, but Elias lifted a hand. Something in her eyes told him violence was not needed. The alien woman stepped closer. Her movements were graceful, like flowing water. She stopped only a few steps from Elias. For a long moment there was silence. The air seemed to hold its breath, and then she spoke. Her voice was soft but clear, carrying across the plaza in words no translator device could explain because they were not alien. They were English. "I know you, human." Elias froze. The crew looked at each other in shock, unable to understand how a being from across the stars could speak their tongue so perfectly. "You know me?" Elias asked carefully, his tone steady, though his heart raced. The woman nodded. Her silver eyes did not blink. "Yes. I have known your kind for a very long time." Whispers rose among the crew. Dr. Rehan nearly dropped his scanner. Impossible. How could she? But Elias raised his hand again. He stepped closer, his face calm, though his mind spun with questions. Who are you?" he asked. The alien woman tilted her head as though remembering something long buried. "Names change. Time changes. But you may call me Serenia." The way she said it felt heavy, like the name carried centuries of weight. Mara whispered to Rihan, "Captain, she shouldn't be able to speak English. This place shouldn't even exist. None of this makes sense." But Elias wasn't listening to the whispers. His eyes were locked on Serenia, because deep inside, he felt something strange. It was as if he had seen her before. Not in memory, not in dream, but in some part of him that he couldn't explain. Serenia took another step, standing only a breath away. Her glowing hand lifted, hovering near his chest, but not touching. "You came back," she whispered. "After so long?" The words made the air feel colder. Elias frowned. "Back? We've never been here before?" Serenia's gaze did not waver. "You have, not you alone, but your people. Right. Long ago? We walked together, we fought together, and then you were gone." The crew shifted uneasily. Rehan shook his head. "She's lying. Humans never traveled here. We only just began exploring beyond Earth a century ago." But Serenia turned her eyes briefly to him, and even the skeptical historian fell silent under her gaze. "I remember humans," she said simply. "I remember their courage. I remember their fire. And I remember the day they vanished." The plaza was silent. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. Ilias's throat felt dry, but he forced himself to speak. "If what you say is true, then how do you know me?" For the first time, Serenia smiled. It was faint, almost sad, "Because you carry the same spark, the same blood. You are not the first I have met, but you are the first to return." The words pressed against Elias's heart. He didn't understand them, yet they rang with a truth he couldn't deny. His crew looked at him with confusion, some with fear, some with awe, before anyone could ask more. Serenia raised her hand and pointed toward the horizon. Far away, lights shimmered in the sky, like storms gathering above the crystal forests. "They will come," she said softly. "They always come when humans awaken." Her voice held sorrow and warning. Elias felt a chill. "Who?" But Serenia only looked back at him, her glowing eyes filled with memory and mystery. "You will see. And when you do, you must remember who you are." The words hung heavy in the air, a puzzle wrapped in fear and promise. The crew stood in silence, their hearts pounding. They had come seeking a new world. Instead, they had found an alien woman who spoke their language, claimed to know humanity's past, and warned of something approaching. Elias did not know what lay ahead, but one thing was clear. This mission was no longer just exploration. It was the beginning of something far greater. The night settled over the crystal forest, casting the ruins into strange shadows. The crystals glowed faintly with inner light, making the place look alive, as if the planet itself was breathing. The Endeavor crew had set up a temporary camp near the plaza. But no one felt at ease. Some kept checking their scanners again and again. Others whispered in low voices, glancing toward the alien woman Serenia, who sat calmly on a broken stone, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars. Captain Elias stood nearby, watching her in silence. His mind was filled with questions, but above all, one thought would not leave him. She spoke as if she truly knew us, as if she knew me. Finally, he walked over. "You say you know humans," he said. "But how? You speak our language. You claim we were here before? Tell me the truth, Serenia." The alien woman looked at him with calm patience, as though she had been waiting for the question. "I told you," she said softly. "Your kind once stood here. Long ago, before your people forgot the stars. Before history erased itself. Humans and Valari fought side by side against the Hollow."
"Oh, the Hollow?"
Elias repeated, frowning. Her silver hair shimmered in the starlight as she nodded. "Beings without form. They feed on thought, on life, on memory. They are emptiness made alive. When they came, they swept through systems like fire, leaving only silence. We Valari could not defeat them alone. And then, the humans came. The crew gathered closer, listening despite their fear. Dr. Rehan shook his head. This cannot be true. Human history is clear. We only began exploring space in the last few centuries. Before that, Earth was isolated. We have no record of ancient wars among the stars. Serenya's gaze moved to him. Records can be lost. Memories can be taken. Do you think your world is so safe that nothing could erase its past? I tell you this. You were here. I fought beside your kind. They were brave. They were clever. And then one day, they vanished as if swept away by the hollow's shadow. Only ruins and whispers remained. Her words sank into the silence. No one could deny the carvings they had seen earlier, the tall Valari standing with shapes that looked unmistakably human. Elias crossed his arms. If humans really fought in this war, why don't we remember? Why doesn't Earth know? Serenya lowered her eyes. Because the Hollow are not only destroyers of worlds, they are thieves of memory. They do not just end life, they erase it. Perhaps Earth was hidden, perhaps protected, perhaps even broken so deeply that you forgot what you once were. But the blood remembers. She looked at Elias then, directly into his eyes. And so do I. Her gaze pierced him, and for a brief instant, Elias felt a flicker in his mind. He saw an image, too quick to understand shadows against burning skies. A human hand gripping a strange weapon, stars exploding with fire. It lasted only a second, but it left him breathless. What was that? He whispered. Serena's voice was calm. A fragment. Buried in you? The Hollow could erase much, but not everything. Your people carry pieces of what was lost, hidden in your blood and spirit. That is why I knew you. That is why you are here now. The crew stirred uneasily. Mara looked at Elias with wide eyes. Captain, did you see something? Elias nodded slowly. A vision. Like a memory, but not mine. Drahan muttered angrily. This is manipulation. She could be putting thoughts into our heads. But Elias wasn't so sure. The feeling had been too sharp, too real, too familiar. Serenia rose to her feet. She was taller than any human there, her presence both graceful and commanding. Come, she said. There is something you must see. She led them deeper into the ruins, her steps silent against the crystal stone. The crew followed, their lights casting long beams through shattered halls. They passed carvings of battles, murals of shining fleets, and symbols that seemed half human, half Phalian. Finally, they entered a vast chamber beneath the surface. The air felt warmer here and the walls hummed with faint energy. At the center stood a structure like an altar, or perhaps a control device covered in glowing lines. This is a memory core, Serenia explained. It holds the records of our alliance. But it is locked. Only humans can open it. The crew exchanged stunned looks. Elias stepped closer, feeling a strange pull toward the device. Its surface seemed alive, waiting. Why me? Elias asked. Because you are human, Serenia said simply, and because your blood remembers. Touch it, and it will awaken. Others protested. Mara's voice was urgent. Captain, we don't know what this is. It could be dangerous, Rehan added. She could be using us. We don't even know if any of this is true. Elias listened, but deep down, he already knew what he had to do. He stepped forward, placing his hand on the surface of the core. At once, light flared through the chamber. The lines of the device pulsed with power, and the air vibrated with a low hum. Elias felt heat against his palm, then a rush of images into his mind. He saw ships vast, gleaming, shaped like blades of light. He saw humans standing beside Valari warriors, their faces fierce and determined. He saw battles against shadows that moved like storms, creatures without form but with hunger in their endless eyes. He felt the roar of war, the unity of species fighting as one, and then he saw silence. Worlds burned to ash, stars swallowed by darkness, and finally, a terrible emptiness, as though memory itself was being torn apart. Elias pulled his hand away, gasping. His knees nearly buckled, and Mara caught his arm to steady him. What did you see? She asked. He looked around at his crew, his face pale. I saw us, humans, fighting a war we never knew existed. Fighting with them, and then nothing. Erased. The chamber was silent except for the hum of the core. Sirenia stepped forward, her eyes shining with both sorrow and hope. Now you begin to understand. You are not the first humans I have seen, but perhaps you are the first who can remember enough to fight again. Rian shook his head, refusing to believe. This is madness. Captain, we should leave. Take what data we have and return to Earth. This is not our fight. But Elias's mind was torn. He could not deny what he had seen. The visions burned inside him like half-remembered dreams. And worse, a part of him believed Sirenia's warning. If the Hollow once erased humanity's past, what would stop them from returning to erase its future? He looked at Sirenia. Why now? Why, after all this time, do we find you? Why bring us here? Her answer was quiet, but it carried weight. Because they are coming again. And when they do, no world will stand unless humanity remembers what it once was. The crew exchanged fearful glances. The thought of such an enemy was more terrifying than anything they had faced. Elias straightened. His voice steady, though his mind swirled with doubt. If that's true, then we need to know everything. Show us more. Teach us what we've forgotten. Sirenia's expression softened. I will. But be warned, the more you remember, the more they will notice you. The Hollow are drawn to awakening. Already the air stirs with their hunger. At her words, a faint vibration ran through the chamber, as though the planet itself shuddered. The crew froze. Elias clenched his fists. For the first time in his life, he felt like a small part of a story far older and greater than he could imagine, and he understood. Something else too. This was only the beginning. The chamber remained filled with the low hum of the awakened core. Lines of light moved across its surface like living veins, spreading patterns onto the walls. The glow reached the carvings, and suddenly they did not look like dead stone anymore. They shone faintly, as if touched by memory itself. Elias stood with his hands still tingling from the vision. His chest rose and fell quickly, but his eyes were steady. He had seen enough to know the truth was larger than anything he could have imagined. Sirenia moved closer, her voice carrying both calmness and sorrow. This place holds records of what once was. Do you wish to see more? Elias nodded. Yes, show us. The Valari woman stepped to the core and placed her own hand on it. The light brightened, and the chamber filled with images, shadows moving across the walls, forming scenes like a living painting. The crew gasped. They saw shining fleets of ships, thousands of them, moving together through the stars. Humans walked among alien figures, Valari, tall and glowing, and others the crew had never seen before. Dr. Rahan could hardly breathe. This is impossible. They look like us. Exactly like us, 'cause they were you, Sirenia answered softly. Your kind traveled the stars long before the Earth you now remember. You were explorers, warriors, and builders of alliances. You fought not because you wished for war, but because the Hollow left no choice. The vision shifted. The crew saw vast waves of darkness sweeping through star systems, swallowing entire fleets. The Hollow were not ships or machines, they were storms of shadow, moving with hunger, spreading across planets until nothing remained. The image of one battle filled the chamber. Humans in strange armor stood on the surface of a burning world, fighting side by side with Valari. The humans' weapons looked unfamiliar, but their determination was clear. Even as the shadow pressed against them, they held their ground. Elias's chest tightened. He felt pride, but also grief. Pride that humanity had once been strong, grief that it had been forgotten. Mara whispered, They fought like us. They didn't give up. Sirenia nodded. Yes, humans had something no other race carried. You adapted faster, thought differently, and never surrendered, even when defeat seemed certain. That is why the Hollow feared you most. Rihan frowned, his voice sharp. If humans were so powerful, why did they lose? Why did they vanish? The vision darkened. The chamber filled with silence, and then a new image appeared, stars collapsing, entire regions of space falling quiet. The hollow seemed to grow stronger, feeding on memory itself. Serenia's eyes dimmed. We do not know the full truth. Some say the humans fought a final battle, one so great it broke the chains of time itself. Some say they chose to disappear to keep the hollow from finding Earth. Others believe the hollow erased their history so deeply that even humanity forgot its own past. Elias clenched his fists. The thought of his people erased from the galaxy's memory filled him with anger. But we are still here. We survived, Serenia said, her gaze steady on him. You survived, hidden, silent, forgotten. Until now, the chamber fell quiet. Each crew member carried heavy thoughts. The idea that their species once held such power only to lose everything was difficult to accept. Then, the core shifted again. New images, form structures, weapons, fleets waiting in silence. Serenia pointed toward them. These are the relics of the Alliance. Hidden weapons, ancient systems, and knowledge locked to human blood. We Valari kept them safe, waiting for the day humans would return. Elias stepped closer to the vision. You mean only we can use them? Serenia nodded. Yes, the hollow could not destroy what was bound to you. That is why I brought you here. Because the hollow will rise again. They already stir, and only humanity can awaken what was lost. The crew exchanged worried looks. They had come as explorers, not warriors. They had no idea how to fight a war across the stars. Rihan's voice broke the silence. Captain, we can't just accept this. We have no proof beyond her words in these visions. What if this is a trap? What if she's only using us to open weapons she cannot? Mara shook her head. Did you not see? Those were humans in the visions. It makes sense. The ruins, the language, the carvings, all of it connects. Rihan's eyes were filled with doubt, but Elias noticed something else, fear. And Elias understood. It was easier to deny the truth than to accept that their small mission had become something much larger. Elias took a deep breath. We came here to explore. But it seems we've uncovered something more. If the hollow are real, if they return, then humanity cannot hide. We must know the truth, and we must be ready.
Ow.
Serena's expression softened. You speak like the humans I once knew. Her words made Elias pause. Somewhere deep inside, he felt as though she was right. The chamber shook suddenly, a faint tremor that rattled the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the light of the core flickered. What was that? Mara asked, alarmed. Serena's eyes darkened. The hollow sense awakening. The more you remember, the more they notice. They draw closer. The crew exchanged tense looks. Fear pressed into their chests. Elias straightened. Then we have no choice. We need to learn as much as possible before they arrive. Show us what else this core holds. Serenia hesitated, then nodded. Very well. But know this, every truth has a price. She touched the core again, and the chamber filled with another vision. This one was darker. The humans were fewer now, fighting desperately on broken worlds. Their fleets were shattered, their allies scattered, yet even in their final stand, they burned with unbroken spirit. At the center of it all, Elias saw a man. A human leader, his face scarred, his eyes fierce, standing before a massive starship unlike any other. Serenia's voice echoed softly. That was the last commander of the human fleet. His name is lost, but his choice was clear. He led your people into the final battle. No one knows what happened after. The hollow were driven back, but the humans were gone. The vision faded, leaving only silence. Elias's mind swirled. He could not shake the image of that last commander. Something in the man's eyes felt familiar, like looking into a mirror across centuries. Captain Mara said softly, "What do we do now?" Elias turned to his crew. "We learn, we prepare. If what Serenia says is true, then the hollow are coming again. And if humanity once stood against them, then we will stand again." His voice carried strength, but inside he wondered if they truly could. They were explorers, not warriors. Yet perhaps that was what made them human, the ability to rise, no matter the odds. Serena placed her hand gently over the core. Then I will guide you. Together, we will awaken the memory of your people. And when the hollow come, we will not face them alone. The chamber glowed brighter, the symbols burning with ancient fire. The air felt heavy with destiny. For the first time, Elias felt certain of one thing. The galaxy would soon know humanity again. The ruins seemed alive now. Since the memory core had awakened, the walls glowed faintly, as if carrying power through veins of crystal. The crew of Endeavor moved through the chambers carefully, their lights bouncing against carvings that no longer looked like dead stone, but like warnings left for the future. Captain Elias walked at the front, his thoughts heavy. He had seen visions of the old war, of humans fighting beside the Volari, of shadows sweeping through galaxies. It still felt impossible, yet he could not deny what he had seen. His blood remembered, even if his mind did not. Saranya walked beside him, tall and calm, but her silver eyes carried worry. The hollow will not stay silent now, she said quietly. They are drawn to awakening. Every time you touch the core, every time you remember, they sense it. Soon they will arrive. Watch. Mara overheard and frowned. How soon? Serena's answer was soft. Perhaps days. Perhaps hours. The crew stopped in their tracks. Whispers filled the air. They were explorers, not soldiers. Their ship was fast but unarmed. Against an enemy that once devoured entire fleets, what chance did they have? Dr. Rehan shook his head. We cannot fight. Captain, we should leave. Take what we've learned, return to Earth, and let the leaders decide. We are not prepared for this. But Elias stood firm. If the Hollow are coming, they won't wait for Earth to decide. If they sense us, they'll follow us wherever we go. Running may only bring them home. The words fell heavy over the crew. Mara swallowed hard. Then what do we do? Serenia stopped before a great sealed door deep in the ruins. You awaken what was left for you? The Hollow may be strong, but they fear humanity for a reason. This place holds weapons, machines, and knowledge your people once used. They are waiting for you to claim them again. Elias stepped forward. The door was covered in glowing symbols, pulsing faintly. It responded to his presence, the lines flaring brighter as he placed his hand on it. Slowly, with a sound like deep thunder, the massive stone doors slid open. Inside was a vast chamber. Rows of towering machines lined the walls, each shaped like armor for giants. Sleek, crystalline frames with empty space where a pilot might sit. They were not machines of Volari design. They were built with both alien grace and human practicality. The crew stared in awe. My God, Mara whispered. Are those weapons? Serenia nodded. Warframes, built for humans and Volari together. Only your kind can fully control them. Elias walked slowly between the silent giants. He felt their presence, as if they were waiting, sleeping, listening. His hand brushed one of the cold frames, and the machine stirred faintly with light. Rehan muttered nervously, This is too much. We are scientists, explorers, not warriors. We don't even know how to use these things. But Serenia's voice was steady. You will learn. Humans always learn quickly. That is your gift. Elias turned to his crew. He saw fear in their eyes, but also something else's determination. They had seen the visions too. They had felt the truth of what Serenia spoke. We may not be soldiers, Elias said, but we are human. If these machines are meant for us, then we'll use them. If the Hollow are coming, we'll give them a fight they won't forget. The chamber grew silent, the words settling deep in every heart. Hours passed as Serenia guided them through the process. The warframes responded to human touch, bonding with them as if recognizing their pilots. Elias entered one, and for a moment his mind filled with connections, movement, power, speed. He could feel the machine as an extension of himself, as if he had trained for it his entire life. Mara laughed softly through her combs. This feels natural, like riding a bike only 1,000 times bigger.
Ass.
Rehan, reluctant at first, finally entered one. His voice trembled but carried surprise. It's listening to me, almost like it knows what I want before I move. Serenia watched them with a faint smile. Yes, that is why the Hollow fear you. You do not see machines as tools. You make them part of yourselves. You become something new. For the first time since arriving, the crew felt a spark of hope, but hope was quickly tested. The ground trembled suddenly. Crystals outside shattered with sharp cracks. The air grew heavy, pressing against their minds like a storm of whispers. Elias stiffened. What is that? Serenia's voice grew low. They are here. The crew rushed outside the ruins. Above the crystalline forest, the sky rippled with unnatural darkness. Shapes moved within it, twisting forms of shadow, shifting and stretching as if made from smoke and hunger. The Hollow had come. A wave of dread washed over the humans. The air seemed to vibrate with voices not their own, whispers that clawed at their minds, trying to pull away memories, trying to drown them in emptiness. Mara gritted her teeth, clutching her helmet. There, inside my head. Fight it, Serenia urged. Do not listen. They feed on fear. They cannot take what you refuse to give. Elias looked up at the gathering storm. His heart pounded, but his voice was firm. We're not running. To the frames. The crew hurried back into the chamber. One by one, the war frames awakened, glowing with human presence. Crystalline armor sealed, and engines roared with deep hums of power. Ilias's frame stood tallest, its arms shining with blades of light. Through the machine's vision, the world appeared sharper, clearer, alive. For the first time, he felt what Serenia meant. This was not a machine. This was a partner. The Hollow descended, shadowy forms streaking through the sky like storms of black fire. They slammed against the ruins, a touch corroding stone and crystal alike. The battle began. Elias charged forward. His frame's blades slicing through a shadow beast that screamed without sound as it dissolved. Mara's frame leaped high, firing bursts of energy that tore through the dark clouds. Rehan, though hesitant, quickly found himself coordinating defenses, his frame raising shields that shimmered with light. The Hollow fought with endless hunger, shifting and reforming, but the humans moved with instinct. They adapted quickly, turning mistakes into tactics. Finding weaknesses where none seemed to exist, Serenia stood outside the battle, her own energy flaring as she cast waves of light to drive back the darkness. She watched the humans with awe. They fought like the ones she remembered, creative, unstoppable. The ruins shook with the clash of shadow and light. But no matter how many Hollow they struck down, more poured from the skies. The humans were holding, but only just. Inside his frame, Elias gritted his teeth. They won't stop. They'll drown us. Serenia's voice came through his cums. You cannot destroy them all here, but you can drive them back. You must show them humanity has returned. Elias's heart burned. He raised his blade, his voice echoing through the cums to his crew. We're not forgotten. We're not erased. We are human and we fight. The frames surged forward with renewed strength. Blades of light, bursts of fire, shields of brilliance, they cut through the Hollow, forcing them to retreat from the ruins, back toward the sky. Finally, the storm began to thin. The Hollow withdrew, their whispers fading, their shadows unraveling into the night. The forest grew silent once more. The crew stood in their glowing frames, breathing hard, their bodies exhausted, but their spirits alive. Elias looked up at the stars, knowing this was only the first battle. The Hollow would not stop. They had seen humanity awaken again, and they would come in greater numbers. Serenia's voice was steady, but grave. You have done what I hoped. You reminded them. Humanity is not gone, but this was only a taste of their strength. The true war will follow. Elias tightened his grip on the controls. Then we'll be ready. If the galaxy has forgotten who we are, we'll remind it. The night sky above shimmered with distant lightning, as if the universe itself was watching. The humans stood in silence, their war frames glowing among the ruins, knowing that their fight had just begun. The ruins were quiet again, but the silence felt fragile, like glass ready to break. The crew stood in their war frames, glowing faintly, their breaths heavy after the first battle. Though they had pushed the hollow back, everyone knew it was not the end. Captain Elias kept his eyes on the sky. The stars looked calm, yet somewhere beyond them the hollow gathered in greater numbers. They had tasted humanity's return, and they would not let it go unanswered. Sirenia walked slowly among the frames, her silver eyes full of thought. You did more than survive. You made them retreat. That has not happened in many ages. Mara's voice came through her gums, shaky but proud. It didn't feel like retreat. It felt like they were just testing us. They were, Sirenia admitted. The true swarm will come, and when it does, you must be ready. Dr. Rehan sighed heavily inside his frame. Ready? We barely made it through one battle. If more come, we'll be crushed. Elias looked at his crew. He knew they were tired, frightened, unsure. Yet he also knew something had awakened in them. Something he had seen in every human who fought that night. We can't run, Elias said firmly. If the Hollow follow us to Earth, millions will die. If we hide, they'll still find us. The only way forward is to fight and remind them why humanity was feared in the first place. The crew fell silent. His words were heavy, but they carried truth. Sirenia placed her hand against the crystal wall of the ruins. The chamber lit up faintly, symbols moving across the stone. Then it is time you see the last gift left behind for you. The wall shifted open, revealing a hidden stairway leading deeper underground. Without hesitation, Elias led his crew downward. The air grew colder, and the glow of crystals dimmed as they descended. Finally, they reached a vast chamber, larger than anything they had seen. At its center was a colossal structure, half ship, half living crystal. It pulsed with faint light like a heart waiting to beat again. Mara's eyes widened. Is that a ship? Yes, Sirenia said softly. The Ark of Fire, built by humans in Valari in the final days of the Old War. It was never launched. It waited for your return. The crew stared in awe. The ship was unlike anything they had known. Not only metal and engines, but living crystal interwoven with alien design. It seemed to hum faintly in their minds, as though it knew who they were. Elias stepped forward, feeling its pull. This is what we need, Sirenia nodded. With this, you can face the swarm. But no, this awakening, the Ark will call them. Every hollow within reach will sense it. Rehan swallowed hard. So if we use it, they'll come straight for us? Yes, Sirenia said. But that may be your only chance. Strike now, before their numbers grow to vast. Show them the fire of humanity still burns. Elias looked back at his crew. They were tired, frightened, but he saw resolve in their eyes. Mara tightened her grip on her controls. Rehan's fear was still there, but his jaw was set. They were ready. Then we light the fire, Elias said. For hours, the crew worked with Sirenia to awaken the Ark. The ship responded to human touch, glowing brighter with every command. Systems powered up, energy surged through its crystalline veins, and its engines rumbled like thunder beneath the earth. When Elias stepped onto the command platform, the Ark recognized him. The ship bonded with his presence, its systems flowing into his mind. He felt its vastness, its weapons, its shields, its strength. It was more than a vessel. It was a fortress, a spear, a promise of survival. Mara's voice came through. Captain, this thing could take on an entire fleet. Elias nodded. And it will. The Hollow did not wait long. As the Ark rose from the hidden chamber, the skies above split open. Darkness poured through the stars, a storm of shifting shapes blotting out light. The swarm had arrived. Thousands of hollow, twisting, and endless filled the void above the planet. The crew gasped at the sight. It was more than they imagined, an ocean of shadows stretching without end. Sirenia's voice was calm. This is their true face. But remember, they are not infinite. They fear you. Show them why. The Ark soared upward, breaking through the clouds. its crystalline wings spread wide, glowing brighter than the stars. The hollow screamed without sound, surging forward like waves of black fire. The battle began. The Ark unleashed its power. Beams of searing light tore through the darkness, cutting Hollow apart. Crystalline cannons pulsed with energy, scattering enemies like dust. The warframes now housed within the Ark's hangar. Launched into space, each pilot fighting with renewed strength, Elias stood at the center, his mind linked to the Ark, guiding it like an extension of himself. He felt every strike, every movement, every pulse of power. It was as if humanity's past warriors whispered in his blood. Guiding his hands, Mara flew beside him in her frame, striking hollow beasts with sharp bursts of light. Rayhan managed defenses, raising shields that flared like suns against shadow strikes. Together, they moved like one body. But the hollow were endless. For every swarm cut down, more poured through rifts in the sky. Their whispers pressed harder into the crew's minds, filling them with dread. Trying to erode their will, Mara cried out, clutching her helmet. "They're inside again." "Hold on," Elias shouted. "Remember who you are? They want you to forget, but we remember." His words burned through the cums. The crew steadied, pushing the whispers back with sheer will. And then, Elias saw, it at the heart of the swarm, a massive hollow, greater than the rest. A creature of endless shadow, its body like a storm, its eyes burning with void. Their leader, Serenia whispered. The Devourer. The hollow swarm circled around it, feeding its strength. If it reached the planet, all life would be consumed. Elias gripped the controls. "Then that's our target." The Ark surged forward, cutting through waves of hollow. The Devourer roared, sending shockwaves of darkness across space. Smaller frames staggered under the force, but the humans pressed on. Mara struck from above, her frame's cannons blazing. Rayhan held the shields, blocking strike after strike. Elias drove the Ark straight toward the monster, every weapon blazing. The Devourer lashed out, its form twisting like a storm of claws and teeth. The Ark shuddered, shields flaring, but Elias held steady. "This ends now," he roared. The Ark's core glowed brighter than ever, gathering all its power into one final strike. The humans felt it too, the fire of their kind, the strength of memory, the unity of their will. With a burst of light that outshone the stars, the Ark unleashed its fury. A beam of pure energy tore through the Devourer. Cutting straight through the heart of darkness, the monster screamed, its form unraveling, its swarm collapsing around it. One by one, the hollow fell apart, dissolving into nothing. The sky cleared, the storm of shadows breaking apart until only silence remained. When it was over, the Ark floated in the quiet of space, its glow steady. Its crew exhausted but alive. Mara's voice was soft, awed. We did it. They're gone." Serenia's eyes shone with pride. "No, not gone, but broken. It will take them time to recover. And now the galaxy will know humanity has returned." Elias looked at the stars. The silence felt different now. Not fragile, but waiting. The war was not finished. But they had taken the first step. He turned to his crew. "We'll return to Earth. We'll warn them. And when the hollow come again, we'll be ready. Humanity won't face it alone this time. The galaxy will remember who we are." Mara smiled tiredly. "Humans and Valari. Together again," Elias nodded. "Together, always." The Ark of Fire turned toward the stars, its wings glowing brighter than dawn. Humanity's fire burned once more, and the universe would never forget it.